What's going on, YouTube? It's Mr. Mike Shea here, and today I'm going to be talking about the recently released Injustice movie. This is an animated movie based off of the video game and comic books Injustice: Gods Among Us from DC. The story of the video game and the comic books tell of a story where Superman has completely lost his mind through grief of the death of Lois Lane and has turned the world into a totalitarian state and is basically running things through his mighty regime as Batman and his own group of rebels try to overthrow the regime and stand up against him. And the game, if you remember, was a global phenomenon. It was a kind of a side-scroll fighter game in the style of like Mortal Kombat with a very detailed and deep character-based story involving characters from all over the DC universe, and then the 5 years of comic books, which told the 5-year story of everything from the beginning leading up to the events of the game itself, were universally acclaimed as some of the best comic book writing DC had done in a long time at that point. So obviously the idea of a movie version, at least an animated version, is considering how much DC tends to crush with their animated movies, it was inevitable. We knew it was going to come. And you know, they've been teasing this for a long time. People seem to think that like there was some version of this was going to be involved in Zack Snyder's version of the Justice League films based on things we saw teased in BVS and in Justice League. It's kind of been, you know, the idea of this tyrannical Superman is not particularly a new idea, but Injustice seemed to do it better than anyone else had done in a while. So when it was finally announced this animated film was coming and that it was going to be rated R because the game and the story are very dark, very violent, there was a lot of buzz and hope, and it sucks. I'm going to be real blunt. The movie sucks. It is like really bad. It's really, really bad. I cannot fathom. I've said this about several movies in the past. Like, when you take into account the number of desks that this movie had to pass over, executives, writers, directors, whatever you, the number of people that had to look at this script before it ever went into production, and none of them said, hey, maybe don't, to some of these ideas. I'm going to give it a lot more detail about why I think it sucks, but I'm letting you know right now, I'm not going to be nice about this because I don't really have anything nice to say. I posted an early Letterboxd review and I gave it 1.5 stars. The most I can say about it from a positive aspect, and I'll do this before I really get into tearing in a new one. The animation's really good. The animation's very good, and that's about it. The animation's good. Yeah, that's about all I can say. This thing is it's truly it's a mystery how they could drop the ball so bad. So to start off, the movie itself is not a retelling of the video game. That's something that I think right away people need to be aware of. If you've never read, this is basically, we're going to say loosely based on year one of the comic books. Okay. So if you're going to this expecting to see the story of the game and you've never read the comic books, brace yourself. Okay. You're not getting the story of the game in this movie. This is a retelling of year one. But what gets me, it's not even a good retelling of year one. It is such a bullet point movie is what I can really describe it as. You know, when I look at year one of the comics and how, you know, over the course of 13 issues, 12 issues in an annual, so 13 issues, they drew just this crazy web of how all these characters were interconnected and involved, and how their relationships with each other were changing, and how the greater world at hand was reacting to these events, and this kind of slow build into Superman just slowly beginning to become more and more unhinged, and Batman pulling further and further away, and there's time. They give it time to marinate. We spend time with, there's a lot of characters that are ill-fated, that are doomed to die in the comics, in the storyline, and we spend a lot of time with them building an emotional connection so that when they do die, their death has some meaning. Okay. Yeah, we don't get that in this movie. A lot of death still happens. We don't care, though. There is no emotional weight when Lois Lane dies. None. And that's the crux of the entire movie, is that a pregnant Lois Lane dies. So to give you the base run of the story for those who are still watching for some reason, and just to know. So the story of Year One Injustice is that, and Injustice in general, is that Superman is basically tricked by the Joker through kryptonite-laced scarecrow fear toxin, that he hallucinates thinking he is fighting Doomsday and beating the shit out of Doomsday, and takes Doomsday into space to take him out there. And it's at that point the gas wears off and he realizes, I've been killing Lois Lane. And at that point, he is unable to realize that the Joker attached a heartbeat monitor to Lois Lane, that when her heartbeat stopped, it triggered a nuclear device that explodes and destroys Metropolis. So Joker tricks Superman into murdering his pregnant wife and also at the same time destroying his city. This causes Superman to snap. Batman has Joker in custody and is interrogating him. Superman shows up and punches a hole through Joker's chest and kills him on the spot. And from there, it just spirals. All of those things happen in this movie in the first 3 minutes. All of that is done and over with in about 3 minutes. We spend maybe 30 seconds with Lois and Superman, Lois and Clark. Maybe 30. And there's no real romance. He wakes up, hears the heartbeat in her stomach, says, "Oh my God, you're pregnant." She's like, "Oh my God, I didn't know either." And Superman's like, "Oh my God, this is crazy." And she says, "Yeah, we'll talk about it later. I got to go to work," and just fucks off. That's it. That is the last time we see them together. That's it. That's really it. We get this, Joker finds her, kidnaps her. The next time we see her is when she's dead in Superman's arms. They gloss over all of this, like I said, in just the first couple of minutes. There's no time spent with anyone. And it's right in these first few minutes that they make they do the one thing in this movie that they had no reason to do. They change the story. They kill off characters that should not have been killed off, that should have survived to exist in the game later on. We're going to get more into that in a little bit. But they kill off, I'm already spoiling the whole thing. So anyway, they kill off the Flash in a quick scene. Like the scene where he dies is so fast, I had to back it up and watch it again because I wasn't sure what happened. Not only does the Flash die, he dies and nobody cares. Nobody cares. You hear Batman on the radio go, "Flash? Flash, you there? Hey, Wonder Woman, what are you doing?" And we just move on. It's never brought up again. It's never mentioned again. Nobody says, "Hey, what happened to Flash?" Nobody goes to look for him, to find him. He dies and we just move on with our lives. Other characters that were meant to stick around, like Green Lantern, Shazam, who were meant to stick around and be bigger parts of the story as time went on, they leave. They either leave or are killed off, and we don't see them again. All the changes that are made in this movie fundamentally affect the greater story at large of the Injustice game and comic books, which gets me into my next point, which is that the way this movie exists, the games cannot exist. Like there will not be an Injustice 2 or 3 as far as the movies go. We're not eventually going to get the movie version of the game because the way this movie wraps up It's not going to happen. To give you the long and short of it, Superman's regime lasts about a week, basically. It lasts about a week, and it ends with him surrendering, realizing the error of his ways, and agreeing to go to prison for the rest of his life. That's it. That's the movie. That's the whole movie. I equate this to, you know, in high school, where you can always tell when somebody was giving their essay about a book that was assigned. You can always tell who read the book and who read the Cliff Notes. These guys read the Cliff Notes of Injustice. They got the bullet points and just tried to hit those bullet points and filled in the blanks. Like Ra's al Ghul is introduced for some reason. Wasn't a thing in year one. The relationship between Batman and Nightwing and Damian Wayne is completely glossed over, which causes Damian's switching sides to mean nothing, which causes his accidental killing of Nightwing to mean nothing. Not to mention they fuck up how Nightwing dies. Nightwing's death was meant to be this crazy, brutal accident where he's, you know, hit by this random billy club thrown by Robin, and it hits him and he falls over and there's this whole thing and he breaks his neck and dies. In this one, he just kind of gets thunked in the head by the billy club and somehow that kills him. And that's it. And Robin's like, oh man, I'm so sorry. My bad. And then he switches sides in the end. Robin didn't switch sides in the end. Robin stayed a part of Superman's regime throughout the whole thing. It's astounding to me the changes they made. At one point, because Ra's al Ghul becomes involved, he keeps telling Superman that he's got something for him, and we just keep seeing this figure under a blanket. We don't know who it is. And when you know what you know about Ra's al Ghul, you just keep expecting him to reveal that it's Lois Lane. He's going to put her in the Lazarus pit and bring her back to life. And they keep building it up like that's what it's going to be. And then it's not. It's just a Mazo. It's just the Amazo robot. And that's the thing that brings everyone back together is Amazo gets turned loose and Superman's team and Batman's team have to join together to defeat Amazo. And then somehow or another, out of fucking nowhere, Cyborg shows up, dies, which he's not supposed to die. And they're able to open a doorway to another Earth where that Earth Superman comes in, beats the shit out of this Superman. Then they bring in the pregnant Lois from another universe who somehow talks Superman out of what he's doing and he surrenders. And that's the end of the game, or the end of the movie. That's it. That's it. It is not Injustice. Yes, it's about a tyrannical Superman who gets triggered kind of the same way, but it's not Injustice. And I know some folks are going to say like, oh, well, they can do their own thing. I don't have a problem with them changing elements of the story as long as there's a reason. You know, if you're going to make changes to an established story, and again, that's the thing that gets me is like the story was there for you to use. You didn't need to change anything. You really didn't need to. People loved the story the way it was. All you had to do was translate that to animation and it would have been great. People would have been thrilled. And if you're going to make changes, that's fine, but at least have the changes you're doing make sense. That's the problem I had with the Batman Hush animated movie, was that it wasn't Hush. It wasn't Hush at all. The whole thing ends with it just being Riddler. Woo. Not how it played out in the Hush story. I was really disappointed with how that one turned out. And that's how I felt with this one too. Like I said in my Letterboxd review, like at the end of the day, I'm just disappointed. And not even the voice, like the dialogue is terrible. The voice acting is god awful, which is a huge bummer when you consider you've got Gillian Jacobs, who played Britta on Community, voicing Harley Quinn. Kevin Pollak is the Joker, who sounds like he's doing a cheap imitation of Pennywise from Stephen King's It. You've got, and those are kind of the big names in this movie, and the voice acting is terrible, but I have a hard time blaming the actors because the rest of the movie is so bad. I blame the director. It's like he was just telling them, look, just say the lines, do it in one take, and we'll call it a day. The only thing they left in here that from the original that also truly worked was the scene with Green Arrow and Harley Quinn, where they make the joke about calling his lair the Quiver, and that's cool. But even like the way Green Arrow is played out in this movie is not like in the book, and Black Canary is nowhere to be found, which again is a huge part of Green Arrow's arc and everything going on with Superman. They changed things that didn't need to be changed. And it's not like they changed them. Like, none of the changes they made felt like an improvement. Like, at no point did I go, oh, you know what? I like that one better. Like, no, again, like, did they do any test screenings for this thing? And I read that it got leaked online, and I can't help but think, I feel like somebody in the production leaked this because they were like, this is bad. Like we just got to leak this online because no one's going to want to watch this. Word's going to spread fast. And good Lord, is it atrocious. The Injustice animated movie is unwatchable garbage. It spits in the face of the source material. Like, as soon as I finished watching this, I went back and like into my long boxes and grabbed my Injustice comics to reread them. Just like, I got to be reminded of just how good this original story was. Because like, this was so bad, it had me questioning whether the original was even all that good. I was like, am I just remembering the original wrong? Was it actually really bad and I'm just remembering it through rose-tinted glasses? And then I went and reread it. I was like, oh no, it's actually very good. The filmmakers just fucked it up. Plain and simple. Yeah, I got nothing nice to say about the Injustice animated movie review. It is unmitigated garbage. It is unwatchable. It is a travesty. Like I said, it spits in the face of the source material. And if you are at all a fan of Injustice, Gods Among Us, comics, video games, or otherwise, do not waste your time. Normally, I would say watch it and decide for yourself. I am advising you to not waste your time watching this because it's just going to piss you off. If you're a fan of Injustice, Gods Among Us, the Injustice animated movie is just going to ruin your day, and I'm not about encouraging you to ruin your day. Watch anything else. Go watch Venom, Let There Be Carnage for all I care. Go see a good movie. Go read a book. Go do literally anything else but watch the Injustice animated movie. It is awful. My score still stands 1.5 stars. Again, you get that because the animation's pretty good. Other than that, avoid this thing at all costs. Let me know what you guys thought. If you did, in fact, already watch it, down in the comments. If you like this and you want to see more, subscribe to the notification bell. Check out my DC Fandom trailer reviews if you got time. And in the meantime, yeah. This movie sucks really bad.